أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Respected chairperson, distinguished guests, and my fellow brothers and elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace of Allah be on you all. Today, I will aim to shed some light on the topic of the future of mankind. The history of mankind, starting from the murder of Abel, is replete with instances of organized warfare, torture, and persecution. It is no exaggeration to say that the history of mankind is a history of bloodshed. At the very early stage of evolution, man started creating psychological barriers on the basis of geography, clan, religion, color of the skin, socioeconomic philosophies, and other such grounds, and until now has managed to maintain such artificial segregation, ironically, at the expense of his own existence. History tells us that blood was shed in due course on every possible ground, no matter how trivial, and it was always shed in vain. The point can be supported by scores of examples, ancient and modern. The Assyrians' atrocities, the crucifixion, the catacombs, the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Spanish Civil War, the Russian Revolution, Fascism, Nazism, communism, the concentration camps, the Russian Revolution, the two great wars, the Vietnam War, the Great Depression, failure of the League of Nations, the Gulf War, the Al-Qaeda attacks, and the list goes on, are all the facts which stand out like gravestones and remind us of our failure to achieve the ideal of a peaceful international coexistence. More recently, events in Cambodia, Germany, Iran, Iraq, India, Afghanistan, Indonesia, Libya, and even more recently, Syria, Lebanon, and France, and numerous other places show just how desperately far away we are from peace. People are still persecuted for no other reason than the color of their skin, their supposed racial origin, and the shape of their belief. Moreover, the ongoing organized persecution of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in countries like Pakistan, Indonesia, and very recently Bangladesh again, are too well known and has left a deep scar on the face of humanity. The phenomena is still going on with the latest terrorist group, ISIS, or so-called Islamic State, causing chaos around the world, brutally killing innocent human beings, unfortunately all in the name of Islam. My dear friends, if you add the recurrent famines in the many parts of the world and near to destitution conditions in many others, the future of mankind, unfortunately, looks very sad and bleak. Morality has sunk to such a level that even in this field, man has failed to do what is necessary to alleviate the situation. The fact of the matter is that the plight of famine-stricken people lies within man's reach, but the will and determination to do so is not there. If we now turn our attention to the Holy Quran, we can clearly see that God the Almighty has highlighted the Magna Charta of human fraternity and unity in chapter 49, verse 15, which states, "O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and we have made you into tribes and subtribes for the sake of easy recognition. Verily, the most honorable among you in the sight of God is the most righteous among you. Surely, God is all-knowing, all-aware." This verse lays down the basis of all comprehensive and all-pervading brotherhood, sisterhood of all human beings. It is addressed to and is aimed at all human beings and is not confined just to the believers of the Quran. As a matter of fact, the whole message of the Quran is for all people everywhere. This particular verse strikes at the roots of false and conjectural notions of racial arrogance and superiority. It affirms that the worth of a person is not to be judged by the pigment of skin, rank, social, or economic status, or such measuring tools, but the standard is what a person can do as a moral and social human being in discharging his responsibilities and obligations to God and to his creation, including all flora and fauna. This universe has not been created for the benefit of a class, section, or individual. Human beings have been created for an objective and a purpose which is common to the whole of mankind. Therefore, the dominion which has been entrusted to people over resources of the universe and the forces of nature must be for the benefit of all mankind. If this principle was recognized, accepted, and put into practice, only then the regulation of human activity in all spheres, individual, social, cultural, and political, will become wholly beneficent, and mankind would then begin to live at peace and harmony with one another. The one and only person who was sent as a mercy for all of mankind, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, delivered his farewell address in Mecca during his last pilgrimage, which serves as the best human charter of peace, harmony, and brotherhood. The Holy Prophet quoted, "All Muslims are as brethren to one another. All of you are equal. All men, whatever nation or tribe they belong to, and whatever station in life they may hold, are equal. Even as the fingers of the two hands are equal, so are human beings equal to one another. No one has any right, any superiority to claim over one another. You are as brothers. Even as this month is sacred, this land inviolate, and to this holy day, so has God made the lives, property, and honor of every man sacred." I repeat, God has made the lives, property, and honor of every man sacred. To take any man's life or his property this month or attack his honor is as unjust and wrong as to violate the sacredness of this day, this month, and this territory. What I command you today is not meant only for today. It is meant for all time. End quote. With this statement, can any one person, any one rational person, dare say that any part of Islam is in ISIS? I don't think so, my friends. With this, let us now dwell into a bit more detail on what Islam's view is on establishing peace, including individual, social, economic, and political peace. I will strive to cover this topic from the writings of the fourth caliph of the Ahmadiyya Muslim movement, Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, in his book titled Islam's Response to Contemporary Issues. Starting at the basic level, individual peace is critical before any peace on a larger scale is even contemplated. According to Islam, both desires and ambitions are activated and curtailed under divine guidance so that a perfect balance is achieved. Without such balance, it is impossible to achieve social peace. The ambition to rise above the common run of people and to attain distinction is but natural. However, this natural desire to excel and rise above others, if left undisciplined and uncurtailed, can become unwholesome. Islam presents a perfect teaching in the Holy Quran in this field, in chapter 2, verse 149, where it states, "Everyone has an ultimate goal to pursue which dominates him. We fixed that goal for you, so do you then vie with one another in goodness. Wherever you be, Allah will bring you all together. Surely, Allah has the power to do all that He wills." In this one verse, boundless wisdom is miraculously compressed and preserved. It serves as a guiding principle covering competition of all types and fields. Hence, goodness must remain the ultimate goal and become the object of competition. All foul play and meanness is completely banished at a single stroke. Moving on to social peace, chapter 16, verse 91, highlights the fundamentals of an Islamic society. Verily, Allah requires you to abide by justice and to treat with grace, and give like the giving of kin to kin, and forbids indecency and manifest evil and transgression. He admonishes you that you may take heed. The first part of this verse is applicable more to the economic sphere than the social order, as it paints a clear image of the Islamic concept of justice, fair play, and benevolence in treating the less fortunate sections of society. The second part applies to the social image of society, which Islam is committed to create. In this part, God forbids all that is considered wrong by universal standards, like indecent behavior, affront, insult, and indeed all social evils. Islam strictly rejects and condemns every tendency, behavior, and attitude which may lead to disorder, rebellion, and violence. Furthermore, the Holy Quran envisages Islamic society to emphasize integrity, loyalty, faithfulness, and promote all such measures as would create peace of mind and heart. It takes preventative measures against a society becoming lopsided in its pursuit of pleasure. Lastly, if we look at political peace, it is important to note that in Islam, no political system is mentioned as the only valid system against all others. There is no doubt that the Holy Quran clearly speaks of a democratic system where the rulers can be elected by the people, but it is not the only system recommended by Islam. Nor can it be the only fundamental prerogative of a universal religion to choose a single system of government without due regard to the fact that it is not practically possible for a single system to be applicable to all regions and societies of the world. In this current global turmoil that we are now experiencing, it is very disappointing but very true that an organization such as the United Nations cannot even try to establish world peace unless the principle of absolute justice in the economic relationship between countries is accepted and strictly adhered to, and unfair market practices which exploit the resources of the poor are removed by and for all members of the UN. My dear audience, to save the future of mankind, above all, justice should be the means and justice should be the end. There's a quote from a famous American author and poet, E.B. White, that I recently stumbled across, which I would like to share with you today, which in a nutshell to me explains why the world is heading towards destruction. E.B. White states, I quote, "I am pessimistic about the human race because it is too ingenious for its own good. Our approach to nature is to beat it into submission. We would stand a better chance of survival if we accommodated ourselves to this planet and viewed it appreciatively instead of skeptically and dictatorially." End quote. His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah be his helper, the fifth caliph of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, has for a number of years been warning the world about the impending World War III. In fact, in his recent Friday sermon, delivered on the 4th of December, His Holiness indicated that the Third World War had already begun on a small scale with the recent airstrikes in Syria. The Ahmadi Muslims, us Ahmadi Muslims, are the very fortunate and blessed ones that have accepted the promised Messiah, on whom be peace. And we need to take our responsibilities very seriously and recognize who we are to try and save the future of mankind. The promised Messiah, on whom be peace, has actually guaranteed the future of Ahmadiyyat in these words. I quote, "O mankind, hearken, this is the prophecy of God who made the heavens and the earth. He will spread this movement in all countries and give it supremacy over all through reason and arguments. The 3rd century from today will not have been completed when all those who have been waiting for Jesus, both Muslims and Christians, will despair of his coming, and entertaining misgivings shall give up their belief, and there will only be one faith in the world and one preceptor. I came only to sow the seed. That seed has been sown by my hands. It will now grow and blossom forth, and none dare retard its growth. End quote. Tazkiratul Shahadatain. Hence, we need to strive to be the ones who can witness the above promise and not let our lives pass us by. The future of mankind looks miserable and depressing. We must not leave our children and next generation handicapped and disabled because of our mistakes. Some very wise words of advice were given by Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah be his helper, in 2008, where he said, I quote, "Those countries who want to be the standard bearers of peace should sit down together and work how the world can be saved from destruction. When thinking of that, they should remember their Creator and then think for the betterment of his creation. But remember that the path which the world has chosen today, the effect of instability will not be confined to just one country, but will spread all over the world. It is quite possible that we will witness many examples like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or unfortunately even worse." End quote. In conclusion, I will end my discourse with the blessed words of Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah be his helper, the true and only Caliph of Islam, from his Friday sermon on the 11th of December this year. His Holiness states, "The world is teetering on the edge of a fire pit. The situation can arise any time that would plunge it into the pit of fire. It is the responsibility of each and every Ahmadi. It is the responsibility of each and every Ahmadi to try to save this world from falling in fire and work towards peace and security. And Ahmadis alone can do this task. Effort is needed for this task. The main aspect to attain this objective is to inculcate a special connection with God the Almighty, to turn to him and bow down to him, and to instill righteousness in our hearts. Then alone can we give peace and security to ourselves, to our next generation, and to the world. For such an occasion, the Promised Messiah, on whom be peace, said in a poetic couplet, "It is fire, but all those will be saved from the fire who love God, the possessor of wonders." What is needed, my friends, is to make our connection with the all-powerful God stronger still and grow our love for him. May he enable us to try and do this, and may he give sense to the worldly people to listen to God and reform themselves so that they are saved from falling in the pit of destruction and hence save the future of mankind. Ameen. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. And in the end, I declare that all praise belongs to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. Jazakumullah.